ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. What's good? It's your boy GM. Welcome to episode 0, Talking Shift. I'm here with my boy. We gonna call him Lazy. We gonna call him Charlie L.G. My main man, right? You my partner now.
What's good? What's good? Good to be here.
Tell them a little bit about you, man. Tell the world what they need to know.
They need to know. They need to know is just a person who lives in the moment. Forget about yesterday. Do better today. I like to go on runs. I own a tattoo shop. Make music, and now I'm part of this podcast family.
Okay. So where did you and I meet? How did we meet?
Shit, we met over at Foothill College. Just a random class, taking a marketing class.
Yeah.
We fucking sat down. We already knew. We got that vibe to each other.
Yeah.
Fucking already knew. Fucking. Yeah,
that class was great, man. That Miss Mancuso, man, she was a dope ass teacher. I feel like in life you meet people that have a certain impact on you. I don't know if I necessarily believe in like higher powers and everything. We don't need to get too deep into that, but
right.
She's definitely one of those teachers that just stuck out and kind of made an impact on my life. You know what I mean? What about you? Do you think that she was in that same vein, that same category?
I'd kind of put all the teachers over at Foothill in that same category. Before I got to college, like, education wasn't really even like an idea for me. Okay. I thought only reason I passed middle school is because the school didn't have enough like to pass all the kids. All the kids like passed just because they didn't have enough to like fail any kids.
Where did you grow up and go? Like, where were you going? You don't have to say the school. I mean, you can if you want. It don't matter.
I was always back and forth between San Jose, EPA, San Jose, kind of back
Where's
and forth.
Where's EPA? For the people that don't know, they may not be from the Bay. They may be fucking from Bangladesh for all we know, like China or something.
Yeah,
Where's EPA?
EPA is the east side of Palo Alto. It's like its own little city, Got mad love for the people here. They got mad love for me,
Yeah.
In the day, that's just kind of how it goes around here. It's like a small city,
Mm-hmm.
San Jose is a city of 1 million people.
That's
EPA,
a spread out city too.
Yeah, that's a spread out city. Every section takes 15 minutes to get to, but
Mm-hmm.
EPA, like, it's just like maybe 10,000 people, So almost, it's like a very community.
Really?
Place.
Is it only that? Is it only like 10K?
I don't want to say it passes 100K for sure.
Oh,
no.
Like Redwood City, I don't think is even.
Redwood City's like 50, isn't it?
No,
50,
Redwood
60?
City is like almost 80.
80?
Yeah. When I was a little kid, it was about 60.
It's probably about half that.
Which,
then,
for
maybe.
everybody doesn't know, I'm from Redwood City, and these are both areas on the peninsula. So we're from an area smack dab in between San Francisco and San Jose for the uninitiated. But so you grew up going back and forth, right? And I think early on in that class with Miss Mancuso, we got to talking because we had similar interests in maybe music. I mean, both music and kind of the hustle,
the
both
music,
things.
The hustle, like all of it, like, like we both knew, like we got a bit of an age difference, but we both knew on that mindset, like we hustle to get out, to get more, to provide and shit, not just
For
to
sure.
like just to stack. The stack's nice. The stacking's cool, stack to the ceiling. It looks nice, but it's all about what you do with your money.
Yeah, I think most people, most of the time, people these days, they like to stack to show off. You know what I mean? I'm on a different kick personally, but I mean, we both about stacking though. We can agree on that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what happened at Foothill, man? What happened? Did you? I know you graduated. You got a degree. You got degrees over at Foothill, right?
Yeah, I got a couple certificates. I got 1 degree in music technology in AA. I thought about transferring, but there aren't really music schools like that. You could get a master's in music, but at the end of the day, it's just more theory, more conceptual stuff.
Yeah.
Like my whole thing is after my first degree, I wanted to take a year off and kind of do life. My original plan was like to take a couple trips or something, but then I ended up getting the tattoo shop, ran that for about a year, and then had the opportunity to go back to school. So now I'm back on business and kinesiology.
So what's that like, man? What's it like both being an entrepreneur, owning a business, and at the same time being a student?
It's a trip. Like some like being already graduated too. Like I've been through the loop once, and then coming back, like it kind of just goes back. I never really had teachers like that at Foothill. Like my whole education up until that point was just kind of on me.
Yeah.
If I wanted to learn something, it was on me. Now, once I got to Foothill, I saw that these were instructors. These were more than just instructors. These were like mentors, you know?
Yeah.
Just for about 12 weeks, as long as you paid them.
Man, you lucked out. You got some good teachers.
I had some bad ones too, but you know, it's like you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
And so once I got there, I just kind of like said, all right, well, for one, I'm paying for this shit. It's different than like just going to like a public school where everything's kind of paid for you, and being like underclass, had all my meals paid for too.
Yeah.
So now I got to pay for all my snacks and shit too. And it's like, but I already ran out of financial aid too. So it's this trip, like being back there as a business owner, entrepreneur, and like being a student all over again. It's like I'm already at I wouldn't say I'm at the top of the totem pole, but like I've achieved a lot despite I'm still at the bottom.
I feel you.
And so like there's like in certain classes I kind of get it. Like having ran a business already, I understand concepts a bit more without having to ask questions too much or anything like that.
Yeah.
And like also from owning a business and taking these classes now, I'm filling in a lot of gaps. Like there's a lot of stuff that had I taken this business class before, I probably would have been in a better position to have been running a business. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm doing a bad job, but I know I could be doing a better job.
What do you think? Like, what's the most important thing you learned in all of your business experience, whether it be at school or, you know, in the workplace where you're running your business? What have you learned thus far?
It's kind of just like how to like keep better track of things.
Yeah.
Because like
I neglect some of that myself. I ain't gonna lie. I'm working on it.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, like time is like a resource that you're never gonna get back. That's the biggest resource for everything. Like
we all get the same. No matter how much money we
all
get
the same, you know, and you never know how much you have personally.
Yep. Hey.
So it's just like one of those things. Like I learned like to better manage my time, like to be important, like knowing where my time goes.
Yeah.
You know, my notes are still as sloppy as the first day I went to college. But like the way I write notes now, the way I kind of put everything in like an order has changed, you know. Like next to me I have like a board of the goals that not necessarily I'm knocking out one by one, but like every now and then I look at it and I'm reminded I'm on an objective.
Most people don't set goals.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people set goals, but a lot of times they set one big goal that they never know how to obtain.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people, when they say they're dreamers, they have that one big goal where it just never seems to pan out because they didn't know all the little goals they had to do to make it there.
Yeah.
You know.
Everybody, what's that saying? You know, like everybody wants to be a lion until they see what it takes to be a lion, or whatever that saying is. You know, everybody sees the cars or whatever you envision by success, right? Mm-hmm. From visually what you see. But most of the time people don't think about like what it took to reach that. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they see these people that are going to be like quote unquote overnight celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't even realize, that dude has been sitting there grinding out for a decade trying to do this. And it might seem like he just popped up now, but he was actually working. He was in the back, in the dark, and you guys didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know?
Robert Greene wrote a book called Mastery.
Robert Greene?
Who wrote 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, Art of Seduction. So great books, all of them. But in Mastery,
you be on your book, man. This guy knows his books.
I be trying to like read as much as possible, you know. Like currently, it's like I'm trying to read 50 books by the end of the year. I got 2 months left. It's October.
Wow.
Time.
How many have you done? How many have you knocked out?
I want to say I'm around 28.
Ooh, you cutting it close, huh?
I'm cutting it close, but you know, like if I really wanted to, I could do 30. I wouldn't say I could do 30 books in a month, but
that's a lot.
That's the same time. That's what I'm telling you. Like time management is the key.
Oh man, I couldn't read. It'd take me a month to read one book. I need an audio book.
Yeah, I mean that's how I started though. Like right now, because I'm in school too, I'm doing less reading. Like I try to read like in between. Like sections of like when I'm reading too much of like one class, I'll try to like read a book just to like kind of like keep my mind like sharp
Mm-hmm.
and like not just so bored out of its mind reading economics, you know.
Yeah.
But like, but yeah. So what was I saying? Like Mastery from by Robert Greene is that's how you know the joint's hidden. You know
Put it out there.
I don't smoke like that
We
anymore.
we do smoke on this show sometimes, so
Probably before, maybe
get
after.
over it.
But yeah, in that book, he talks about how anybody who wants to be a master in any like profession or any skill that they particularly find useful or like what they love or anything like that, such as music, you have to do about 10,000 hours just to see the skill set that people don't see. You know, that's that overnight success.
Coming from martial arts, I can 100,000,000,000% attest to that, man. Like, you know, it's like farming. You get out of it what you put in. So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was cutting out in my
headphones. Yeah, it does that whenever I touch the wire.
Okay, cool.
But yeah.
That's not cutting off anything up there.
Yeah, it's not cutting off nothing out here.
Sorry, guys. That's why this is episode 0.
You know,
we ain't going to cut none of this out either. This is what it's like starting a podcast. You know what I mean? But anyways. How did you, what started getting you into books? Because I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't fuck with books like that. Yeah, I love audiobooks, but
I didn't fuck with books until I can't get into audiobooks though.
Yeah.
Like I can't listen. I need to like really like read it line by line, like to understand what's going on, get a mental picture.
I'm lucky because in the things where I work, I'm able to, you know, listen or even when I'm driving, like when I'm driving different places, I just plug it in and like to listen to either, you know, audiobooks or podcasts myself, but
yeah, what got me into it was I was in high school. Up until that point, I didn't really read a book. I had like studied stuff like on my own because at that point I still didn't believe the educational system was there for me, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a continuation school, and at one point I finished like work early because I just homework and schoolwork is never an issue for me. It's just like the system itself didn't feel fulfilling, you know. It's teaching you to remember shit for a test instead of teaching you life skills. Like imagine if school was taught taxes. Like imagine, right? But so I was bored one day. I finished up my work. Teacher told me, all right, either go to sleep or read a book off the shelf, because he had a bunch of books on the shelf.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was kind of like interested in like alchemy, stuff like that. Just like weird sciences, like voodoo, all that weird shit, you know?
Yeah.
So I saw a book called The Alchemist.
Ooh, I've only read 2 whole books in my life, and that's one of them. It's a great book.
And that honestly, I would say that book changed my life, saved my life, so much shit. Like, because once I read that, I knew it wasn't so much of, again, like a religious thing or an entity thing like out there. It was more like, I have a reason to be here, and I'm gonna find out what that is, even if I gotta travel the whole world just to end up in the same spot.
Okay. Sounds like almost like a DMT trip.
Almost, you know, like, because I have my own mental like fucking issues, so I always knew I never thought like almost everybody else.
I think no, go ahead.
So like that's what kind of also drew me to like weirder shit. Like I always try to, like, even as a kid, like I tried to read the Bible, I tried to read the Quran, I tried to read the Torah, but
it just didn't appeal to you.
It just, for one, it kind of like blended all together.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it never really made me want to be a better person for the sake of being a better person. It always like, be a better person so I get into a good place.
Yeah.
I get rewarded.
That, like, you don't even really know if you're going to go to.
Exactly. Like, at the end of the day, my whole thing was, if I'm going to be a nice person or if I'm going to do good deeds, I'm going to do them because I want to. Or because, not because like I have to or feel like the need to. It's just one of those things, you know. I'm trying to find the right human experience.
I feel you.
So once I read that book, I knew, for one, like I had to like just keep doing my music. At that point too, I had an opportunity to do either poetry, like, or music, and I chose music head on because, for one, it seemed more fun to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, music doesn't seem like work to me.
Yeah.
It's closer to a hobby because I'm not really making money from it, but it's also supplied me with more than I could ever ask.
Yeah. And look at the skills that it gave you. You know what I mean? Like the technical skills. I mean, you make beats, right?
Starting to, for the longest I didn't try to make my own beats because I just didn't like how it sounded. It always sounded like it came from a computer. I love live instrumentation, so I love to have like musicians in here playing a single instrument, and then we work out another single instrument that goes with it. The way I started it was doing like kind of like basic drum loops over like basic melodies, and at the end of the day I was never satisfied with my work, so I started just putting that to the side, doing way more writing, singing, all that stuff, using my voice.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, like, I think the best instrument is the human voice.
Depending on whose the instrument it is.
Yeah. You got human beatboxers. Like, you got people who can make crazy noises. They can imitate like fucking police sirens, animals.
Have you seen that beatboxer dude? He was like beatboxing with his mouth, and he was humming the in the jungle.
I think I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
That was like when YouTube first came out, bro. That was back in the day.
And it's just crazy, like, what you can not only do with your body, but just with the voice alone. So that's why I respect Kanye so much as a producer, because like he really put that out there. Like, he's the one that really used it as an instrument, as an instrument, not even as like the whole thing.
What how did you get into music? Like, growing up, you were probably like most of us, like music is like the soundtrack to our life, what was it that inspired you to say, like, look, this is what I gotta actually dedicate my life to?
It was weird, because when I first got to like elementary school, and you had those like introduction to music classes, with the recorder and bullshit, that killed me. Like, my teachers just did not show me what music could be.
Yeah.
They try to tell me what music was.
I feel that.
So, like, they try to make it fun, something like that. Days you could pick an instrument, but like, I had no idea what the fuck any of that shit was back then. So it's like, you can't tell me to pick up a random thing and like feel good about it,
Yeah. Sorry guys, I fear that's me cracking my knuckles. I apologize.
And like, I didn't really like think of music as a viable option till about high school. And that's when like people started showing me like hip hop, because before then I was like into rock, metal.
Okay.
Like, I like guitars and stuff like that. I used to play like more acoustic guitar and stuff. Okay. But the funniest part is I was still writing poetry, but all my poetry was essentially rap because it rhymed. To me, if it didn't rhyme, it didn't make sense. Yeah. So throughout the whole like elementary school, middle school, I'm writing these poetries, just getting better with my rhyme schemes. And but even then, like, I'd say I was a horrible lyricist because I mean, that's just comparing like how I write my stuff now to then. There was like no real formation, but eventually I get to high school and everybody's showing me hip hop and stuff like that. I wasn't even really aware of like Tupac and stuff like back then. I was more aware. I mean, I had heard it. I knew Mac Dre and stuff. Like, I had heard
Thank
it.
God.
How can I not know the God? But
and shame on you if you don't know who Mac Dre is. First off, and that's on episode 0, bitches.
So yeah, I always knew who they were, but like, because like I wasn't also like, I wasn't really like hyphy or wearing baggy clothes too much.
No jabos and tall tees.
I mean, I had tall tees, but it was more like, cause like that's what everybody else wore. So it's just more like, I didn't know anywhere where that came from. I didn't know where style came from. It was just like, all right, this is what we wear. It's like, and the school uniform was Dickies too. So like, how do you not? And then so they start showing me all this hip hop, but they showed me like Bay Area hip hop stuff, like Woody.
Oh shit, that's not just Bay Area. That's very niche.
Yeah, it's very niche. I grew up on like Woody and all those guys.
Bury Me on East 18th. Oh, hey, you surprised I knew that one?
Like, at the end of the day, like when I look back on what Woody
Blackbird
was doing, oh fuck, right? everybody was playing that shit. But when I look back on like what Woody did, like he set the scene almost between him. He set the scene for like Mexicans and stuff like that. You know,
If people don't know who Woody is, let them know who's Woody.
Woody was a.
Tell it how it is.
See, I can't even because I don't really know the full background on him. Like some people, this is all like I hear a lot of stuff from other people, and then I hear a lot of stuff from like confirmed people and stuff like that. But supposedly he was a northerner from Antioch. You know, I don't want to say he wasn't, but like I'm just saying based off like from what I hear.
Hey, I'll confirm this right now. I got some OGs from Antioch.
Okay, there we go.
Facts.
He was certified. Okay.
He was Hey man, shout out to Soprano boy, Fiji.
Because at the end of the day, like he couldn't even be saying all that stuff without being certified.
Oh yeah, no fucking way.
So it's like it made sense, but it's just at the end of the day, like if I didn't personally know him, I don't want to speak on anything I say as fact.
100%, 100%.
So yeah, like I grew up on Woody and all his homeboys. You know, I got into all that type of music, and then I started noticing like where they were getting their beats from. They were like taking beats from like these mainstream rappers or stuff like that, and then just making them like their hood music.
Yeah.
But that was more not even what like Woody was doing. That was more like the other guys, like
Big Tone.
Like Big Tone.
Oh,
yeah.
you
Big
see,
Tone,
I was gonna
Speedy,
say.
like all of them. Like it was cool. Like
What about Davina?
Davina? I remember when Davina first came out. She was popping. She had everything, and then like her and Big Tone like had that chemistry because for one they were together at that point.
Are they not together?
They're not together no more because again.
She came out with new stuff recently, I think.
Yeah, she came out with an album like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
You know, something where.
I'm not even a front. Like that's not the music scene that I was really like listening to. I've heard songs from Woody.
It's more like
I
kind of keep tabs on all that, but because like Davina has evolved from her like old music. I'll give her that credit because a couple songs I did hear, she's trying to like escape the box she's put herself in from all those years from making that type of music.
Yeah.
But it's the same. You could say about the same thing about some like southern rappers, you know. Like,
100%.
Like some of them, like you know why they make all those.
They're only gonna
songs.
have one market.
Yeah, you know, like they make those love songs for the girls because what's bigger than like all their fucking homies?
Yeah.
It's the girls that come up and dance. You know what? Like it's like Mac Miller said. Like at one point he went out to the audience. He was like. All right, all my dudes say yeah, and then he's like, all my women, like, let me hear you, and like he could barely hear him.
Yeah,
he's like, where are all the women at my shows? Because he didn't make any music for women.
Okay.
So it becomes that like thing where you don't want to trap yourself in a box. You don't want to like just target one audience, especially in music.
So basically, Mac Miller was saying his shows were sausage fests.
Yeah, early days, like I think up until turning movies with the sound off.
Okay.
Or watching movies with the sound off.
Yeah. That was Was that his last project?
No, Swimming was his last project. That probably like his best project.
Yeah.
I could listen to that thing all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like as I got into all that music, I started noticing like kind of like for one, like they kept saying the same stuff over and over. Like it was just a different beat, you know. And at the end of the day, I noticed that people didn't really care what people were saying at that point in the music game. It was more about who had the hardest beat.
Yeah.
And then like
it's kind of like that to some degree today.
It still is, you know, but it's a bit more technical now too.
Yeah.
Like they understand. Like some people only like you're not gonna knock something that because it sounds good, like it's saying something stupid, you know.
Yeah.
Then again, you know, you got 6ix9ine and Gucci Gang and shit like that too. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like but even those songs, like they're targeting an audience, people who don't listen for music, they listen for noise. So like once you like differentiate noise and music, like there's a big like step you take.
Yeah.
So like once I kind of noticed that, and then I also kind of heard stuff, I was like, if they can do this, maybe I can too. But my whole thing was like, if I'm gonna do it, I gotta do it better.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started getting into like Mac Dre. That's when I started getting into like Biggie, Tupac, and all of them, because that's when I heard lyricism on top of flow, on top of a beat that reflected what they were saying.
Yeah.
You know, Mac Dre was mostly pimp shit, but like he knew how to spit the pimp shit, you know? But even then you have songs like his called Pawn in the Game, where he really talks about shit.
Mm-hmm.
And but even then, like, you'd be surprised, like, for anybody who doesn't like really listen to Mac Dre, like, if you explore his catalog, he's
got a little bit of everything.
He talks about a lot of shit that goes on around him without snitching out anyone around him either.
Like, remember that one, feeling like that nigga?
Feeling like that nigga, you know? What do you think that means?
Hey, that whole song, bro, was crazy.
Yeah, man. It's just like, and it's also where like a lot of slang from derived to, like
100%.
him, E40.
It inspired a generation. I mean, like, everybody that's from that era, I mean, has that kind of same lingo to this day. I mean,
yeah, we're
shoot, if you
slang.
hear me talk, I mean, people sometimes, if other places don't know what I might be saying, but
yeah, straight up, like, there's no. But even then, like, but after all that, like, there hasn't really been like new slang like that.
mm-hmm.
The new slang is just kind of like, it doesn't have that like feel, at least not on the streets. The new slang is more for like these new kids, you know, like the swag era and all that shit. Excuse me. But yeah, after like I heard all them like rap, and then I kind of convinced myself like I could do this. I just kind of did what every fucking rapper did when they start out, you know, go on YouTube and find beats. And so I was just finding beats on YouTube, like using all the old stuff I'd written to like kind of come up with songs.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm not really, there's some stuff, you know, I still like listen to and back and I get a smile out of it. But like all my first copies of my first mixtape are fucking destroyed. At least I hope so. If you have a copy of that, like, you know, you better treasure that. That shit's about to be worth money. But yeah, like after each like failed attempt too, I knew I wanted to do this more and more and better.
Yeah.
And then after a certain point, I kind of like hit a wall to where I'm like, what do I do next? And then that's when college kind of hit. I finished high school, didn't really know what to do, and then I found out there's music technology. You know, you learn how to be your own engineer. And at that point, I'd been making music for about 2 years, maybe 3. And I had no concept of mixing, mastering, or anything like that. So all my songs back then sounded raw. It was just like, it was a SoundCloud rapper pretty much before I think I knew about SoundCloud. And it was just shit turned up all the way loud just so you could pump it on the fucking speaker and be like, yeah, this is shit, you know? Because I was also making music with my other homie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like we had clicked at that point. And from there, it was just like me and him making music almost every week and shit.
Yeah.
And releasing that song the same day. Like, no concept of mixing, no concept of, like, even leveling and getting this fucking sound decent, you know? But even then, people were hyping us up. Like, we had people listen to us for prison, which, like, when people tell me shit like that, too, like, halfway I don't believe them.
Yeah.
Yeah, go, you're good. And so it's just, like, it was a trip. Like, a lot of times, like, I couldn't believe people were really listening to my music. But that's not why I put the music out, you know? I put it out. I mean, part of it is, like, so I can get people to listen to it and tell me feedback. But I never really got constructive feedback until college, pretty much, you know? That's when I took, like, classes where people were telling me, like, this isn't wrong, but this is how you could have done it way better. And so once I got to college, like, and I set foot in a real studio, and I saw real microphones, and I saw all this other shit, I was, like, blown away. Like, I met this guy named Johnny Garza, and, like, he's probably, like, one of my favorite producers right now, and, like, his work is just so consistent, getting better. Like, I'm not sure if he'll ever hear this, but, like, that's a shout-out for him, you know?
Did you meet him up at Foothill?
I met him at Foothill, you know, like, but I respected him so much because he was on his shit, you know? He was constantly making, like, production. He was constantly getting better at his mixing and mastering, and I can't front, like, you know, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm doing other shit, you know. At the time I was doing stupid shit, trying to just make money on the side while I was just, like, also at college.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point I was just like as much as, like, I want to make music, you know, bills don't wait.
That's for damn sure.
So it's like, but he was also getting paid from doing that while also doing, like, other shit. Like, he had, like, other jobs on the side.
Yeah.
So, like, if anybody's in school, you know, and they're really grinding it out, I got nothing but respect for him because that's all your energy, that's all your time, but you're making a future for yourself. That's
Yeah,
not gonna.
it's a sacrifice.
Yeah, you're paying for it now, but it's gonna pay you later.
100%. 100%.
So I saw him, and he really made me want to step up my game. On top of like the professors who like always gave you like good encouragement, and from there I learned like what kind of, for one, like how to like properly record shit, and like they don't really teach you how to mix. It's more like what each mixing concept means. So at the end of the day, like college was a good tool, but it was still on me to learn what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
And that, again, it becomes a time constraint where it's like, how many hours can I sit in front of a computer learning how to do just one mixing thing?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, some days I do that, days I'm blessed to have that time, but
Yeah.
some days
you got bills to pay.
I got bills to pay. I'm in and out. Some shit's always going on.
Yeah.
And, I try to make more time for like exercising, reading, and shit like that. So once I got to Foothill, and then like I met up with like these producers and like all these musicians who were just like some musicians were already like right there first year, and they were already releasing their third EP. At the same time, it's like
any really good any standout artists that you remember from Foothill?
The standout ones didn't make anything. So like the standout ones are the ones like I was constantly trying to like get them inside the studio, like let's make something, but like they had time constraints,
Yeah.
Because especially they weren't in a band, they were just like that solo bass player, that solo guitar player, that solo drummer.
It seems like in this day and age, it's really hard to find, especially because we have the technology. We got people making full instrumentations for music to, for they could do a whole song all from their keyboard, all from their computer. You know what I mean? The technical skills these days are getting less and less with technology. You know what I mean? It's a blessing and a curse. You know what I mean? While because you're lucky, you got both the skills. You got the hands-on instrumentation, and you know how to work with the keyboard and and everything on that. So, like, could you see that? Was that like visible in Foothill? Like, or, you know what I mean?
What do you mean like visible?
Like,
could I see
people it seems like these days a lot less people are actually able to make music with instruments and kind of just going 100% onto the to the digital stuff. And don't get me wrong, I got love for both because we need both. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what do you think? Like, because you were in music studios up there.
Because the problem with making music now accessible to like anybody. Mm-hmm. A lot of I've met a lot of musicians through the years, like not even just from school, from like work, and just meeting people. Like a lot of people try to make music, a lot of people don't release music, and that's where the biggest thing is. Because or even if they do release it, nobody hears it. At the end of the day, you could have the dopest song in the world, best production, all that, but if nobody hears it,
it's all for naught.
It's all for naught, and that's what drives a lot of people to like just keep making stuff but never put it out because they're scared of what the outcome would be like that. Like they don't want to put something out where all their effort and it doesn't get returned. So it's a double-edged sword.
I can attest to that. I mean, I got some friends that, I mean, their music was dope. I can attest their skills were fucking awesome, and I would push them, man. I to this day, some of the ones that I used to know, man, like some of the ones that I used to know, man, they had it, bro. You know what I mean? And if they really had that work ethic, and if they went through with it, man, they could have done something. And I still think like if they still put in some effort, they could still do something today.
The problem with the music though is like a lot of people also forget it's a business.
100%.
And so when you forget that, like, again, you start putting out shit without promoting. You start putting out shit without a plan.
Yes.
So that only gets you so far.
I mean, think back to your megastars, right? You think back like your Prince, right? Your Stevie Wonder, whoever. Most of the time, they were just as business savvy as they were really good at music, which is why you heard them in the first place. Because if they weren't, you probably never would have heard them.
Like this is exactly what you say. Like when you do music, you have to remember you're the investment. And you have to choose to invest in yourself. That might mean buying an ad on Facebook. That might mean going to a show for the 100th time just to like get your stage right. Just like when you watch Purple Rain, you see Prince get rejected a couple of times before his big show.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but how many times in real life do you think he got rejected? Especially dressed the way he was.
Yeah, man. He
I mean, granted, that was the style back then, but like even that style had to take a while to take place. You know, it didn't just pop up like that.
100%.
Like you got the pop scene, you got the pop scene, you got all these different scenes happening.
Disco.
Yeah, you got all these things happening like right after another, and then like 1 second you got an afro, next second you got straight hair.
Yeah.
So, and then that also just plays into like cultural ties, like the sense of beauty, and all this other shit. But it's hard to make music just for the sake of making music.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I have to make my money to pay my bills. That's why I own a fucking business. That's why I got like other things in the works instead of just being in the streets and shit, because that only also goes so far.
Yeah.
Like, there's no telling on how many people, both sides of these mics, we've lost, and how many people are listening just because of some stupid ass fucking street violence.
You know, touching on that and kind of circling back to what we talked about earlier. I'm gonna get on my DJ Vlad shit now. So growing up in the Bay Area, right? We're both from the Bay Area. You're from East Palo Alto, and when we were kids, well, okay, you know, like back in the day, in what was it, like '93, EPA was like the murder capital, right? So, what type of violence?
I mean, the funny thing is, like, despite all the violence I've heard from EPA, it was mostly herd violence as opposed to scene violence. When I was in San Jose, I literally saw somebody get their head blasted off.
Wow.
And that was as a kid, you know, before I really had any idea what the fuck was going on.
How old were you?
Everything's a blur from back then. Like, I can remember certain scenes. I remember that dude getting his head blasted. I remember living in a garage. I remember a lot of the bad shit, you know, shit that I shouldn't remember. I try to remember the good shit, but it's like there's only so much, especially because like of all this other shit that's happened throughout life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
it's unfortunate that, you know, in life most of the time we only ever remember the bad stuff, you know.
Yeah. So like when seeing like the violence here in EPA, it seems more like people are holding on to it to like get that, I wouldn't say glory as much as infamy. Kind of
maybe, yeah.
Because there's an image.
Where is that line though?
Yeah,
you know
that there's that line. It's fucking thin as fuck.
That's a very thin line.
Blurry thin line. And it's in San Jose because when you start thinking of the politics too, like EPA isn't really. They still have three places, you know. As small as EPA is, it's still divided into three like sections.
Yeah. And what are the sections out here for people?
In EPA, we got the Ville,
which is.
Like, what do you mean?
What is the Ville short? What does it stand for?
Oh, for the village.
For the village, which is kind of like Illinois area, right?
I don't really remember where
Bay Road.
You'd have to ask somebody who's from here to like tell you all that. And then you got the Mid, which is Midtown, and then you got the G, which is short for the Gardens.
Yeah.
And like all three, like they all politic their own different ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you start looking at San Jose, the way they politic, it's way more organized, you know. You have one side for one gang, you have one side for another gang, then you got like both sides where it's kind of fucking touchy waters depending on what street you go on.
Yeah.
And it's more organized, not even just in the street sense, but in the prison sense. A lot of people who go in and out of prison are San Jose, not even affiliates, more like, how do I say this? I
heard San Jose is kind of like the new Oakland.
it's when they build that bar, it's about to be.
Yeah.
It's fucking. We're about to connect, and yeah, they're gonna connect. That's how it's gonna go. Like it's just the way San Jose like organizes all its stuff is like the main hub, like at least here in like the South Bay.
Okay.
Then when you get East Bay, it's Oakland, stuff like that, Vallejo.
What about West Bay?
West Bay, like I don't really.
415, San Francisco.
You would think it would be San Francisco, but it's like it's one of two.
Who do you think?
It's San Francisco and I can't really remember all the names off top. I'm just getting higher and higher. I'm a lightweight right now.
Oh man.
But yeah, like so whenever like I see all the violence here in EPA, like it doesn't really make me think too much. Like it's not that it doesn't suck. It's just more like people are holding out to that same image, trying to bring it back. And it's like, why would you want to bring it back?
Yeah, that's no bueno.
So it's like
that's not the lick.
But in San Jose, like, you know, as much as it's starting to gentrify too, it's like, and Oakland, like as much as it's starting to gentrify, like that could be a good and a bad thing. You don't.
They got to go somewhere.
Not even the fact that they got to go somewhere. It's just like it's like when you look at San Francisco, you see how that culture in the area, and you see how all those cultures intermingle, interject, and then you have something crazy that happens in a couple of years. You know, not so much in a violent sense, but like.
But then San Francisco's a weird spot too because they also keep all their black people in the projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they still have their own fucking bullshit out there.
That is a very segregated city.
Yeah.
And, you know, for being such an open-minded part of the world, right, and a very left-leaning, forward-thinking type of progressive place to kind of do their people like that, it's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Oh man. Hey, but so how did we get into, you know, linking up and working on this podcast?
You know, it's been a long time coming. I remember the first podcast you came out with D Santos.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That's my boy. He actually moved to L.A., man. He's doing music down there, trying to do his thing,
Everybody's
bro.
trying to move to L.A. and do their thing. But yeah. Somebody's told me to do the same thing, but I can't. If I leave, I'm not going to L.A. I'm not going. I don't even know if I want to leave the Bay because like there's nothing like it.
I moved away, and I have to agree. I moved to Vegas. I moved to Seattle, and man, there's no place like home.
You don't want to see violence and drugs out here. They're everywhere. So it's like no matter where you go, you're gonna see some shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like
some of the craziest hoods I ever seen was in Vegas.
Yeah, right. Like what the fuck? Like, cause like everybody goes to these certain spots, so the spots you don't go to are like the most like ready fucking, you know. But like I don't even. It's just...
We smoking good, boy. Nah, but so you know, like back we even were talking about how many years ago was that when we were at Foothill? Like 3 years ago.
Sitting on like 3, maybe 4 now.
So we've been talking about getting this thing going for that long. I mean, it's crazy that it's taken this long for me to get fully committed and find a way to make it happen. I'm just fucking glad that I could finally find somebody with technical skills that can match my ambition. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I'm just happy to be here.
Hey man, we gonna get it, bro. Like we've discussed kind of the type of guests that I want to bring in. We kind of we talked about who we already I already told you off mic a couple of the people we got planned to come in, but I guess like the whole concept of this show is very open. You know what I mean? It's not planned out. It's kind of just on the fly, not on the fly. You know what I mean? Like we always
have like a conversation,
open conversation.
Yeah, an open conversation. Just trying to like dig a little deeper. You know.
Don't get me wrong. Like I am gonna do my homework before I do these shows.
Yeah, definitely get some questions ready.
Yeah, to have like it when we touch on it, but it's a very, intimate, just one-on-one, get to know somebody. And, I'm just glad that I got to, do this first episode with you so everybody knows who my right-hand man is, you know what I mean? Who's making this all possible for us. Um, so this is my introduction to the world, my guy. Tell him all your names, bro. You like your dog, man. You got like hella different names.
Yeah, go. It's a different name.
You know what? Actually, let them know where they can find all your work. Like, shout out your social, shout out the tattoo shop, all of it, man. Let them know.
Yeah, for the most part, I go by Charlie L.G. or Lazy. You can find me at Charlie L.G. 178 on Instagram. I think AGH Central on Twitter. The tattoo shop's on Instagram too at Silvas_piercing. I have to hold on. I gotta look that one up. I always forget. I try not to be on social media too much anymore because it just seems like almost like a drain to me.
But now he's gonna have to.
Yeah, now I gotta be on there, promote this, get on my shit, promote the music too. But yeah, so the Instagram for the tattoo shop is Silvas_tattoo_piercing. My Instagram is CharlieLG178. Twitter is AGH Central. YouTube is AGH Central. SoundCloud is AGH Central.
What's AGH Central?
At Grandma's house. AGH at Grandma's house was the first mixtape. All the entire projects are all dedicated to my homies Big Al's grandma, who we lived with for a while up in San Jose, and unfortunately she had passed due to cancer. But she used to take dabs with us. She used to smoke weed with us. It was crazy.
Rest easy, grandma.
I probably got to bring my homie in here for one interview to really tell you the whole story.
Yeah.
She was probably one of the dopest people I've ever met. And I was glad to get to know her, and we had to dedicate at least the main projects when we come out to her. So it's once we finish up the AGH shit, we'll start breaking off into more solo shit, like some of the solo shit I was showing you earlier.
Yeah.
But definitely we're working more into in-house production.
So
all the stuff that we made on other people's beats, just mixtape, just trying to put the name out there,
Yeah. Shit, man. Any last words for all the listeners?
Shit, last words. Read a book.
Hey, man, read a book. Hey, bro, to be at 100, he's even inspired me to be reading more. But hey, we got some cool ass people coming up as well. Focusing on any creators, man, just creative people, entrepreneurs, musicians, poets, artists, just any type of creative person, man. That's MMA fighters. My brother's an MMA fighter. Some people from the U.S. National Taekwondo team. I got a bunch of different people coming, so y'all stay tuned. Please, man, follow, subscribe, leave comments, the whole nine. Hit me up at talking.shift, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Google, hit it. It's your boy GM, Talking Shift. Peace.